For Learning Target 2.3.4, we're going to be given two equations in different forms and asked if they are parallel, perpendicular, coinciding, or intersecting. And so we are given these two equations. And for this, basically we want them to both look like y equals mx plus b so that we can compare our slopes and our y-intercepts. Those are the two things we need to be looking at to determine what the relationship between the lines are. And so if it does not look like y equals mx plus b, you have to make it that way. So this one is fine. So I'm going to put a box around it signifying that that one's done. But this one, you can see that it's not. And so what I want to do is I want to get y by itself. I want it to say y equals. So I'm going to try to get rid of everything around y, working outside in. So get rid of this minus 48 by adding 48. And over here, I notice these are not like terms, so I cannot combine them. I just need to rewrite them, and I'm going to keep the x out front because I notice x comes first here. So negative 10x plus 48. Then you are going to divide, and when you divide by 8, to get rid of the 8, you have to divide everything by 8. And so we get y equals, if we simplify this, knowing that I'm going to need to compare this to this, I kind of want to keep this as a fraction. So I can ask myself, like, what can I divide these two by so I can simplify? And I notice I can divide both 10 and 8 by 2 to get negative 5/4. You can also turn this into a decimal, and I'll show you what to do if you do that. And then 48 divided by 8 is 6. And we have our second one ready to go. So it says y equals mx plus b. That's what we're looking for, that they're both in slope-intercept form. Now that we have them, we can compare. And like I said, if you turned this into a decimal, then you would have had y equals negative 1.25x plus 6. And then you would need to figure out what this is as a fraction to be able to compare it to this, so you know what the reciprocals are. Sometimes if you're trying to find, so let's say I turn this into a decimal and I turn this into a decimal. This is 0.8x. If you turn them both into decimals and they match, that would signify that you have parallel lines or coinciding lines, depending on what b is. But if they don't match, then you are going to have to turn it back into a fraction to be able to figure that out. You can use Google to do that, and some calculators do that as well. So because I just simplified this, I can see this is negative 5/4 and this is 4/5. And so I need to figure out the relationship. Since the slopes do not match, we automatically, so here are 4 options: parallel, perpendicular, coinciding, or intersecting. Because these don't match, it's automatically not parallel, and it's not coinciding. So it can't be either of those. Now we have to figure out if it's perpendicular or intersecting. So perpendicular is a special type of intersecting. It has opposite reciprocal slopes. So one has to be positive and one has to be negative. Well, this is positive and this is negative. So we got the first part. And then they need to be flipped. So one needs to be 4/5 and one needs to be 5/4, which it is. So this relationship is perpendicular. So the trick is to just get everything to look like y equals mx plus b and then compare. You cannot compare this to this. You have to make sure that they look the same.